Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and any Year 9s who are watching this presentation on Year 9 curriculum choices. My name's Mrs Gould and I'm Deputy Head Teacher here at St Peter's. One of the areas that I oversee, along with examinations, is the options process, so supporting students in making their curriculum choices. The presentation that you're about to watch focuses on a few different areas, so what we'll talk about is the importance of making curriculum choices, why getting the options process right is key. I'll also explain about the EBacc laureate, which is something you may have heard of or you may not have heard of, but just to give you a bit more information about that as part of your decision-making process. I'll also then run through how you actually physically make those option choices using Sims, as we do that online these days, and also how to find out more information about the individual courses that students can study from Year 10 onwards. Finally, there'll be a little bit more about where to seek further advice and guidance if you need any more information, and also some frequently asked questions, the sorts of questions that I tend to get asked every year. Now, I'm sure that your sons and daughters are already looking forward to making these option choices. It's a big part of Year 9, and making the right choice is really important. What we're looking for is that students finish Year 11 with lots of opportunities and lots of options available to them. So it's important that they're thinking about what it is that they want to do. Now, if they were like me, I had no idea what I wanted to do, then trying to keep things as broad and keep as many doors open as possible is absolutely key. If they've got a very clear path that they want to follow, making sure that they've got everything that they need so that they're not going to find any particular pathways blocked to them because they didn't take a particular subject. That's what's really important. So thinking ahead, planning ahead, and getting information, and I will reinforce that point several times throughout this presentation, but asking the questions, finding out as much as you can, because whatever decision you make with your sons and daughters, it will be the right one if it's a really informed decision, and not making decisions based upon assumptions of what courses used to be like and so on, because things have changed quite a bit. So things that your child should consider, and I'm just going to get rid of my face here so that actually you can see the text a little bit more clearly. So, what subjects are required for my potential career plans? Now, if they know what they want to do, looking at entry requirements for A-level courses in sixth form or colleges, or anything that they might need for a particular apprenticeship, for example, that would be important. If they already know what they might want to study, say at university or for a particular apprenticeship, again, what are the base subjects that they will need? They will always need maths and English, that's a given, but there might be a particular requirement for example, a humanities subject or an arts subject that they would need to know about. What subject combinations are going to give them that broad and balanced range of qualifications? Now, having that sort of breadth in what they study is really important. There are a few students who maybe have a particular set of talents or gifts that in say, for example, the arts, and actually that's what they will pursue, and they already know that's my career path, that's what I'm working towards. But for most young people at this age, they might have an idea, but they might have lots of ideas about what they want to do, and that can change massively throughout Key Stage 4, when they get into post-16 study in sixth form and beyond. So making sure that they're not closing off those paths and keeping things broad and balanced is really important. It also helps to make their studies more enjoyable because they're getting a good variety in their curriculum. Knowing what their strengths are, what are they going to do well in, is really important as well. And I think a lot of times students think they know their best subjects, but actually they might have a talent for a particular subject, and just because they don't feel they're as good at it as maybe some others, they may neglect that as a particular option. So how do they know what their strengths are? So it's worth them really making sure that they're talking to their teachers. How am I doing in this subject? Am I capable of studying this to GCSE level and beyond? What will help me to do well in that subject? And the last point here I think is a really important one, because certainly in the time since I started teaching, Key Stage 4 courses have changed massively. Many years ago they had coursework in lots of subjects and then controlled assessment. Now most of them have exam at the end of year 11 and nothing in between. Practical elements in some subjects have reduced and in others haven't. So it's really important that reading the options booklet and watching the subject videos, which I'll mention again later, can give you more information about the content of that subject and what actually is going to be studied. So in terms of our curriculum, we're fairly similar to most schools in that we have our core subjects of English, Maths and Science. It's compulsory to study RE in any school within England, but our students will study that as a GCSE. As we're a Catholic school, that forms part of the foundation of our curriculum. In addition, then students will select 3 option choices, and subjects could come from humanities, such as history and geography, a language, such as French and Spanish, computer science. Also, we have creative and expressive arts as an area, physical education, design and technology, business studies, child development and citizenship. So you can see we've got quite a variety of different curriculum areas, and the ideal is that students are picking from a variety of those areas so that they're keeping that breadth within their curriculum, unless they have a very particular sort of career path or particular set of talents that they are exploring. So the EBacc, or English Baccalaureate, that I mentioned earlier, I often get questions about what it is because parents will hear about it, and if you look on performance tables for schools, it is a measure that is on there. Now, it's not a qualification in its own right, so your child won't receive a certificate to say they have or have not achieved the EBacc. It's a performance measure for schools. But it was put in place by the government because they felt that they wanted to ensure schools were offering a broad curriculum and not specialising or funneling students or forcing them into only studying particular areas. It has 5 elements that you need to secure a strong pass, a grade 5 or above in order for the EBacc to be achieved. That includes English, Maths and 2 sciences, which all of our students will study anyway as part of our core curriculum. 1 humanities, that could be geography or history, and a modern foreign language such as French or Spanish. Now at this point I will mention for some students who speak a different language at home, or, have a community language, whether that's Portuguese or Polish or Italian for example, that would also count as well. So whilst we cannot offer lessons in those particular subjects, we can act as a centre for students to sit those exams if they wanted to certificate to achieve a GCSE within their home language. And that would then qualify as the language within the EBacc measure. When it comes to curriculum choices, there ends up being a lot of stories in the news, and certainly with EBacc sometimes there have been various headlines about this, and it is something that inspectors do look at. For us, we're very, very keen to make sure our students are picking the right choices. Languages are an area that students should really consider studying. There has been a bit of a drop when it comes to studying languages, and that's something that I'll just talk about a little bit more detail. But also sometimes other subjects such as the arts. So what we don't want to do is to direct students to study specific qualifications at the detriment of others. We're really, really keen to make sure if somebody has a particular talent that that's what they are using within their studies, but also that they're keeping that breadth within the curriculum. So do you need the EBacc? Really, it depends upon what you want to do. And what I would suggest is that if you don't yet know what it is that you want to do, or if you have multiple options that you want to pursue in life, then the EBacc, that idea of having a language, a humanity, a creative art, for example, a technology subject, as your 3, that does give you a really broad curriculum that allows you to access lots and lots of different routes post-16. If you have a passion for languages or humanities, then absolutely you should be studying that, because that's something that you're good at and it's something that you enjoy. And it can open lots of doors then in terms of, particularly with languages, you're studying something that other subjects across the country, maybe fewer of them, are studying it. In the past, there was a lot of media coverage or headlines about universities requiring the EBacc in order for you to be able to access courses with them, particularly the Russell Group universities. That's no longer actually the case. So if you still hear information about that, that is sort of an old requirement that they had. That is something that universities have dropped. But what they are keen on is that students have a good base, a good foundation of knowledge that covers as much as possible. So it gives them a really sort of rounded educational experience. And we're seeing studies coming out about studying languages, for example, as a particular example here, how it can actually have a positive impact on your progress across all of your subjects because of what it encourages your brain to do. And the fact that if you don't have to be fluent in that language in order to see a positive impact on your other courses and on your other academic achievement within your science, your maths, and so on. There's also studies that are coming out, for example, from the Education Policy Institute about how if you keep that breadth within your curriculum, there does appear to be a correlation with academic and also financial and employment success later in life. Really, the message here is, if you do have a particular talent, follow that. But try and keep a breadth within your subjects so that you're not just following one particular curriculum area. It gives you more choices, it can help you achieve better across the board in your subjects, and it can also help you later in life because it gives you access to more opportunities. Now, in making your options choices, parents, you will need to access the Sims Parent app. And if you're not able to do that, or you've forgotten passwords, or it needs to be reset, I'll explain to you later how you reach out to us and we'll help you get that sorted out. When you log in, Sims Options Online will be available to you, and it will become available on Friday this week, so Friday the 4th of March. It's not open before then because we have the Parents' Evening tomorrow night, so Wednesday and Thursday night this week. And obviously the options booklets have only just gone home today, on Tuesday, so it's to give people time to have a look through that before making decisions. When you log in, you should see, rather than empty white boxes there, you should see your child's information, and that will then help you make sure that you're making option choices for the right child, and you simply click on the choice that they want to do. As you click them, you will see it puts the choices in preference order down the right-hand side there. So for this particular student, they have computer studies as choice number 1, followed by French. You continue on with that until you have 3 choices, and then you also need to make a reserve choice. So you're actually selecting 4 subjects. 3 full choices, if you like, and then 1 as a reserve. And I'll explain a little bit more about why that is in a moment. At the bottom, there's a box for comments. Comments are entirely optional, so you can put something in there if you wish, which is something that I will be able to see. But you do need to tick the parent-carer approval box just to say, yeah, we're happy with that. That's been sort of signed off, if you like. Now, if I ever had a year where a Year 9 student didn't change their mind, it would be a very strange year indeed. Somebody is bound to, and that may well be your child. So if they change their mind, log back in, unselect the choice that they don't want, select the new one in. You can do that multiple times up until the deadline of Monday the 22nd of March. If they change their mind after that time, if you email into the address that you can see there, the info@ email address, the one that's in green, then that will get put through to me, and if I'm able to make that change, then I absolutely will. But ideally, if any changes could be made ahead of the 22nd of March, that just means that I can actually start working on building the option blocks. If you cannot access the Sims Parent app account, the info@ email address, again, if you email into that just with your details, and that can get reset. If you have issues just accessing IT, because at times it doesn't play ball and you might have issues with internet connection or just with the Sims app in general, then your child can collect a paper form from the Student Hub and hand that form in with a signature on from yourself, and then I can input that on into the system. So if needs be, a paper version is available. And this is what it looks like. So you'll have the list of subjects and you will have to put in 1, 2, 3 to show which is your first, second and third choice, and then R for reserve, but four choices must be selected. So next steps are to spend time reading through that information booklet, which has gone home today, Tuesday, and then watch the option subject videos for more information, and I'll share that link with you in just a moment. If there's anything that, after reading the booklet and watching the videos, if there are any questions you still have that are unanswered and you haven't already, you can make an appointment to speak to a subject-specific teacher on School Cloud, and so that's part of our parents' evening this week. It's really important that the subjects go in order of preference and a reserve is selected. So the reason that it puts, when you select the subjects, which one is number 1, 2, 3 and so on, is that when it comes to me actually putting those choices together, I build the option blocks around the choices that Year 9 students make each year. Rather than pre-designing the blocks, and then it may not work for some students, I tailor it around what the need is to fit as many students' choices together as possible each year. Now what that does mean is, and it would be the case even if I pre-built them, but it would be more the case, but sometimes a particular subject is massively popular and I just haven't got enough spaces for everybody who's chosen it to be able to do it. Where that happens, I always start with first choice students because that's the one they've said, this is the one that's most important to me. So I do my level best to give everybody their first choice, then I work through second choice and then third choice. Where there is a clash or a subject is massively oversubscribed, that reserve choice becomes really important. So it's really, really important that they do take time to actually think about something that they would want to study, because it might be something that ends up on their timetable. And as I said, that the choices are open on Friday, but they do need to be completed by that Monday the 21st of March. So put the subjects down, make sure that they're put in rank order. And I know it is a big decision, but it is important that you put that order in correctly. In the past, I sometimes have had students say, oh, I didn't realise that would be the one that I might not get. I'd have put it first if I had known. The one you want the most, please do put that one first. With a bit of luck, you'll get it. And I will work really, really hard to satisfy as many choices for as many people as possible. My goal is always 100%, and some years I get very, very close, but not every year. You need to make your choices by the deadline, so by Monday the 21st, but it's not first come, first served. So it doesn't matter if you put your choices in on Friday morning of this week or the day that it all closes, I treat them all the same. So I'd rather that you took your time to make decisions than thinking if I get it in early, I'm going to get my choice before somebody else. Take your time, it's not a race. Once they're all in, then I look at them all together. For Year 9 students, it's choosing the subjects you want to do. Not the ones that your best friend wants to do, not the one that you think you might end up in the same classes as all of them. The chances are you might not, because we have multiple classes for certain subjects. And you're going to spend 2 years studying this for 3 lessons a week. That's a lot of time. So pick something that actually is something you want to study. Don't base your choices on your current teachers. You might have them next year. It could be somebody entirely different. So if you absolutely adore the teacher that you have this year, and that's your only reason for choosing it, you might find next year you're not as happy in that subject if you have somebody else. I hope you would be just as happy, but please don't pick it because of the teacher you have. Please pick it because it's something you want to study. As I've mentioned before, don't let friends' choices influence your decisions. I've seen this happen quite a lot, and then it gets to September and somebody comes to see me to say, Miss, I'm really unhappy, I don't know why I picked it, my friend's not even in that class anyway, I need to swap to something else. That might be possible, but it might not be. Ask for advice, it's what we're here for, so asking teachers, Year 9, speak to your parents and carers, speak to family if you've got older brothers and sisters who've recently done GCSEs. Mr Downs, our careers advisor as well, is here to give advice if needed. So just to finish off, some frequently asked questions that I tend to get. I can't log into Sims Parent app, what do I do? So as mentioned before, if you email the address from earlier in the presentation, that will help you get reset. Somebody will contact you to help you get logged on. The options form goes live on Friday of this week, so that's Friday the 3rd of March. So that's when you'll be able to start making those options. Friday the 4th of March, apologies. My child isn't sure what they want to do in the future, what should they choose? So my advice on this one is choose a curriculum that gives them a variety, that gives them some breadth. So keep options open, think about what they enjoy studying, think about if they're not sure, if it's a couple of subjects that they're trying to decide between, speak to teachers, how do they feel they're doing in that particular subject, find out what their strengths are. Look really carefully as well at the course content so that there are no surprises about what they'll end up studying. How do we pick option choices so they don't cause a clash? You don't need to worry about that, that's for me to worry about. So once all the option choices are in, I do my best to remove as many clashes as possible, and some years I don't actually have any. Most years there are a couple of clashes for 1 or 2 students because they've picked up a really sort of niche combination of subjects. But on the whole, I'm usually able to balance those out. What happens if your child cannot have one or more of their option choices? I would say it's rare that somebody doesn't get more than one of their option choices. It has happened. It usually only tends to happen if they pick one subject that's massively popular and then another one that is so unpopular, like maybe only 2 students want to do it and therefore it doesn't run. So it's a rare thing that you can't have 2 of them. But if a subject is very popular, then there might be one that I do have to make a judgment call on who does that particular subject. And the follow-up question to that is, well, how do you decide, Mrs. Gould, if a subject's really popular, how do you choose which students study it? So I start off with order of preference. So if it's been put as a first choice, that's where I start. In some years, very rarely, I will get a subject that's very popular and I don't have enough spaces for all of the first choice students. So then I have a look at their other options. And again, if they've got another subject that's very, very popular, then I make sure that they get their other 2 and then I work from there. But it is a sort of year by year process where I have to look really carefully at individual students and just try and make it as fair and as equitable for students as possible. And we've made our choices by the deadline, but my child has changed their mind. What do we do? So as I've mentioned before, email into the info@ email address. It doesn't mean I can't accommodate a change. It just makes it a little bit trickier, but if I can do it, I absolutely will. And that goes right up until the end of this academic year. One further question that's not on there, but I do often get asked is, what happens if in September they realise that they're not enjoying the subject that they've picked to study? The advice is to come and talk to me, because if there is a way I can accommodate a change, then of course I absolutely will, but obviously in conjunction with yourselves as parents and carers. There's no guarantee I'll be able to do it though, so ideally I'd like to avoid having to make any changes in September, mainly because I don't want to disappoint any student who's finding that they're in the wrong subject. If I can help, I absolutely will. Once we get to the end of September, so that first month in, that's when option choices need to settle and students, any sort of switches or changes will be stopped at that point, bar some extreme or exceptional circumstances, because at that point we're a month into school and actually that's quite a lot of study time that's already been covered. Really, it's about trying to make the right choice first off, but I know not everybody does. Because we're all human and sometimes we just make a decision that's not quite what we're happy with. So if that does happen come September, then please do ask your son or daughter just to come and see me. In terms of questions, because I'm sure you probably have questions about individual subjects, so here is the link for the St Peter's YouTube playlist for the Curriculum Choices event this year. So on there will be this video, but also one for the different option subjects, such as history or child development or history, child development, geography, computer science, and so on. For any queries that aren't answered there, then please do look at the booklet as well. But if that doesn't answer the question that you have, if you have a subject-specific query, then again the info@ email address, if you email that and just say it's for the attention of the subject leader of history or business or whichever subject it is, it will get passed on to them. The subject leaders' names are in the options booklet, if that's helpful to know as well. If you want any questions or advice about careers, then Mr. Downs' email address is there, so you can contact him. And Mrs. Richardson, our Senko, her email address is there as well. Finally, my address is there at the bottom. If you've got any questions about sort of the general overall options process, then please do get in contact and I'll do my best to answer those. Thank you very much for watching this presentation. I hope it answers the questions that you have. And I hope that your child enjoys the experience of choosing their options. It is a really exciting time, and so fingers crossed we'll be sending letters home later in this academic year with lots of happy faces because they've got the choices that they want. Thank you.